Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyani. The Senzo MEYIWA trial has reached a very critical and very important stage. We are seeing for the first time now, as the defense case unfolds, a lot of shocking developments which were never ever brought to the attention of the court throughout the prosecution case. There are two interesting individuals here. One is Absalom Zungu, and the second one is Guabeni. You see, these witnesses or these people are now before this court, but they were first mentioned in evidence by the prosecution in different ways. Let me start with Absalom Zungu briefly and then move on to Guabeni. Absalom Zungu, you all know by now, was the person whose own son testified and was also corroborated by Brigadier Gininda. His own son told the Pretoria High Court that his father had told him that there had been this meeting, or that his father had heard from one Mbekiseni about a meeting at the Basotho hostel where the death of Senzo MEYIWA was discussed. That is how the prosecution put its case relating to Absalom Zungu before the Pretoria High Court. And it was alleged at that stage by the state prosecutor, Advocate Balui, that Absalom Zungu, because you see, that was hearsay evidence, Balui told the court that Absalom Zungu was not in a position to come forward to vouch for that hearsay evidence because he feared for his life. Just underline that, because I'll come back to it yet again as I give you this analysis. So Absalom Zungu was this person who was behind that hearsay evidence and could not, allegedly, according to the prosecution, come forward because he feared for his life. So on the face of it, that was a good reason why Absalom Zungu was not coming forward. But after we had all that, there was then that explosive revelation by Absalom Zungu when he heard that his name was being bandied about in the Pretoria High Court. He made those disclosures on social media and mainstream media and simply rubbished all that his son had said about him in the Pretoria High Court and expressed a willingness to come forward to come and testify, in spite of the fact that the prosecution had indicated that he would not be coming forward because allegedly there had been threats to his life. The man feared for his life. Now, it is becoming very apparent, if I start with Absalom Zungu, why the prosecution had to tell the Pretoria High Court that blatant lie. the Pretoria High Court was told that blatant lie because Absalom Zungu was never going to testify for the prosecution. Several attempts were made by Gininda to try and persuade him to appear before the Pretoria High Court to testify on behalf of the prosecution. And on each occasion, Absalom Zungu just simply turned down Gininda. So he was then called by the defense. And once he's called by the defense, he makes these explosive disclosures that the affidavit that he's supposed to have deposed to is a forgery. He comes forward before the court and denies the contents of that affidavit and also denies ever signing that affidavit by Gininda. But the affidavit was commissioned by Gininda. So that gives you an indication now of where things are going as far as Absalom Zungu is concerned. The court is told that he cannot come forward because he fears for his life. And that was manifestly untrue. They could not bring him forward because they were fully aware that should they bring him forward, subsequent to those media disclosures, that would simply have been fatal to their case, because he would have exposed the fraud of the affidavit allegedly attributed to him. So that is the first shocking dimension of what the prosecution is doing in this trial. Now, let us get to Guabini. Twice Guabini wanted to come to court as Zungu testified. And at least on 2 occasions, Guabini was prevented from coming to court. And the prosecution ended up not calling him. And you see, in the case of Guabini, it becomes very interesting because the prosecution allegedly had a statement in his possession taken by the police, allegedly from Guabini, that implicated accused 1 and 2 in the commission of this offense, which evidence emanated from what happened at the Basotho hostel. Now, like Absalom Zungu, Gwabeni was eager to come forward to come and, testify to the effect that Constable Zungu was lying about him in court. Remember, he just rubbished everything about Absalom Zungu and what happened at the Basotho hostel by simply saying, that man, I last met him in 1998, and the last time I met him again was in 2017. And he went on to actually say, he arrived in Vosloorus in 2017. So that testimony by Constable Zungu about matters relating to the 26th of November 2014 were simply nonsense and untrue, lies under oath. So the prosecution then ends up, in the light of the fact that Guabeni is not cooperating, just like Absalom Zungu, and ends up not calling Guabeni because Guabeni's testimony would just be fatal to their case and expose it for what it is, a fabrication. Now, and that fails to be done by the prosecution. Just like in the case of Absalom Zungu, the defense then makes a decision or takes a decision that they will call Guabini. And to the utter dismay again of the prosecution, Guabini surfaces in the Pretoria High Court. The same Guabini that was prevented by the police and the prosecution from coming forward. They prevented him from coming forward because at the stage when they stopped him from coming to court, they were aware that he was not cooperating with their plans. And just like Absalom Zungu, he was going to be a dangerous witness for the prosecution. So again, in spite of the fact that they're taking a statement from him, hoping that he will come and falsely implicate the accused persons 1, 2, and 3 in the commission of the crime charged before the Pretoria High Court, they then decided to abandon him. The defense picks him up. And these are the explosive things that Guabeni is now saying, denying every single detail of what Constable Zungu is supposed to have told to have told the Pretoria High Court. So you see here, we see a pattern of behavior by the prosecution as its case falls apart. First it was Absalom Zungu. The evidence around Absalom Zungu was first, prepared by the prosecution. But it all backfired when they realized that Absalom Zungu was not going to be part of this. He then said that, oh, well, he's fearful of his life. That is why he's not going to be coming before the Pretoria High Court. Having seen the men testify in the Pretoria High Court, there's nothing that Absalom Zungu would be fearful about. Secondly, there's this Guabini now. Guabini is supposed to have been implicated or mentioned in court proceedings, especially issues relating to what happened at the Basotho Hostel. But then Guabini also refuses to cooperate, to vouch for that false and forged statement. The prosecution then abandons him. And as soon as they've done that, just like in the Absalom Zungu case, the prosecution gets him to testify for it. I think that is food for thought. For one morning, it gives you a clear picture of how this investigation and prosecution is being conducted. And the one question that you ask yourself is, are those people sitting there the killers of Senzo MEYIWA? Why is all this happening? If the prosecution has a clear-cut case of murder, why fabricate evidence? In the next edition of the Daily Fix, which will come later on in the day, I am taking the analysis of these issues. And I'll be specifically focusing on Guabini and what Zungu said happened at the Basotho Hostel on the 26th of October 2020. So look forward to the next edition, which will be running sometime in the afternoon today as we analyze the Senzo MEYIWA trial. Remember, the trial has been postponed to Tuesday. So in the interim, I'll be giving you analysis of the proceedings. News analysis unique to the Daily Fix. Follow the Daily Fix and be up to speed with the latest developments in and around South Africa, specifically at this point in time, in the Senzo MEYIWA trial. See you in the next edition. Thank you very much.